I want to share a story because for those that are watching this, Matt, you and I are talking about the messages that we get. I had another one today. I get multiple every week, and I can't respond to every email I get, every message I get. There's literally, it would literally be more than a full-time job just doing that, and I wouldn't get anything else done. But there was one that came today, and I thought, you know what? I think it's time that I actually share with everybody the sorts of stuff that is in my inbox every single week. Certainly not necessarily every day, but most days. Matt, I'm sure it's the same for you, and I'm sure these stories are playing out for thousands and thousands of people. And before I read this story, I want to preface this by saying we are going to get through this. All right. It's not going to be the work of a moment. It's not going to be tomorrow, but we are going to get through this. It is going to get better. This is going to become a part of our history, not our present. But there is a lot of work to do between now and then. And part of that work is, I think, to connect everybody with the reality for those that are really being hit hard. And this is one of those stories. So I was chatting with this chap for a while. He was abused horribly as a kid and ended up with a number of different mental health and personality issues that arose out of that. A heavy dependence on marijuana to try and manage his symptoms. But if you've got a borderline personality disorder, that and marijuana don't tend to play very nicely together. And so he was in a horrible, horrible spiral, and he dragged his way out of that. And he got himself back to the point where he had a couple of kids. He was engaged to the mother of his kids. And this is his story. August 2020, my fiance and I are living in Geelong, expecting a baby. We're informed that we have to have him at the Royal Women's. We have to stay at a motel in the city for 6 weeks leading up to the birth. We were promised compensation for the hotel. However, we later found out that Geelong is only 83 kilometres from the hospital, and the minimum for reimbursement is 100 kilometres, so that never materialised. We got evicted from the house in Geelong because we couldn't afford to pay both. We moved to Frankston in September 19th, 2020 to live with his in-laws, his fiance's parents, until February 2021, and then we secured a private rental in Frankston. In late April 2021, I have a mental breakdown, and I remove myself from the house to focus on me so that my kids don't ever have to see that again. 2 weeks of paying for my own accommodation, as I had made the decision to leave the house on my own, so I couldn't get any support. I was ordered by the courts, and this sentence doesn't quite make sense. I was ordered by the courts or police. Centrelink can't help with crisis payments, I believe because he had left voluntarily. And no one will help with accommodation. May 12th, I send a message to my drug counselor. So he'd rehabilitated and was still wrestling with marijuana addiction, saying, sorry, I forgot. I forgot to turn off my location, and she found me minutes before the train came. I go and spend 3 days at Papu in Frankston, which is a psychiatric and assessment unit. After the 3 days, I'm discharged to a motel for 2 days and then put into a mental health treatment facility where I was for 4 weeks. Obviously, the snap 7-day lockdown announced during my stay. I'm discharged mid-ish June, and I go to live with a friend at a unit his mum owns. Unfortunately, she had to return to the unit due to unforeseen circumstances, and so I was on the street. I rang the Salvos, and I got put in a Frankston motel where I've been for the last 9 weeks. During this time, I've received zero support from any referrals that were put in there by the rehab center, and I have literally, until last week, had to do it with zero support. $540 a fortnight from Centrelink, and a $170 contribution to the motel. This is what he has to pay. He has to pay $170 to the motel, $150 in child support, phone, and travel. Doesn't leave much. According to Centrelink, although I was in a psychiatric facility for 4 weeks, again, because I did it myself and I wasn't charged with any criminal offenses, I don't qualify for any crisis payments. On Tuesday, this is Tuesday just gone, I receive a call from the Salvation Army letting me know that this is the last week in the motel because their funding is being cut off once lockdown ends. And as of Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, I will need to find alternative accommodation, a share house, a boarding house, or somewhere. As a recovering addict who desperately wants to access his kids, a share house, boarding house, crack house isn't suitable. I have no criminal record. I was a swim teacher for 11 years from 15 to 26 when I had my first breakdown. I'm just trying to get my life on track and give my kids the role model that I never had growing up. This government doesn't care. The rich are getting richer while the poor suffer. There are so many stories like that. And, you know, the number of times, you know, when I'm chatting with people like that, and we've had a lengthy exchange, and I'll be keeping in touch with him. He gave me permission, by the way, to read that. When I know that that's what's sitting in my inbox, I want to engage with these people. I don't want to just leave them unread. So I'll come out here to my garage and I'll close the door, and I'll reply and I'll read and I'll chat with these people. And it's not uncommon for my wife to just stick her head in to say something or whatever, and to find me in tears like this.